Well, welcome to the most unusual version of riding shotgun with Tupper that we've ever shot. I'm actually riding shotgun. Joey Wagner from the Herald and Review is driving. We're coming back from Champaign, where we just spent, I don't know, my timer on my tape recorder said 30 minutes.
About a half hour, yeah.
Yeah, with Brad just talking. The media turnout for that was rather spectacular. I mean, there had to be 20-some people there, I would say.
Everybody showed up.
Yeah. One reason is because when he talks, you're going to get information. And it was really interesting, so I'm happy to share that with you. I'll post this as soon as I get back home. But it was basically a recap of the summer so far. And, you know, he's obviously excited about this group. And some of what, as it starts pouring rain for us here, some of what was interesting to me was what wasn't said.
Yeah.
There were some implied things. A lot better chemistry with this group this year. And some of it was you can attribute to simply being in the second year. Everybody was learning last year, learning about him. He was learning about them. You know, they were all learning about terminology and expectations, and now a good deal of those players, at least the 4 plus some of the walk-ons, have been through it with Brad, so there's a greater degree of knowledge there. And then with the influx of freshmen, it's obviously it's created an atmosphere that he's big on, and talked a lot about the work that the veterans have put in. You know, he had a lot of really high praise for Trent Frazier, and for every one of the returning players.
And Fletcher for doing it. Fletcher for helping him get there and helping him.
Yep.
I mean, Trent's improved his vertical, which I think is big. And
he said he jumped up and touched 11 feet 4 inches.
I think you'll see him probably more, maybe a little more above the rim, and in some instances that he struggled with last year, and that's going to be big.
Yep. And really high praise for DeMonte Williams. You know, obviously we got to all understand DeMonte last year at this time was coming off a full year of inactivity with his knee injury, and this year he's physically in a very different place. Talked about him as being a guy who is impacting the game all over the floor. A 6'4" guard, I think he said a 6'11" wingspan.
It's kind of exactly what Brad wants. He's a heady player. I mean, very few mistakes last year. I think there was a few that everybody remembers. But he's long, he's heady. I think that's exactly the player that system fits, and he had really high praise for him.
Length, a difference in this team, and that was a recruiting goal, to try to find guys that have longer wingspans, and you know, can get in passing lanes better, more quickness, disrupt passes, be a better defensive team. And this is before Anthony Higgs arrives, who is, he said, is 6'8", 235, and before Samba Kane is here, a 7-footer. They're projected to be here in August. Until they show up, you know, I don't count them, simply because they both have some academic issues to account for. But we did get a look at Adonis De La Rosa.
That's a big guy.
Who is a big dude, man. I mean, 6'11", 7 foot. Brad said by the time he starts playing, he'll be at 275, 280.
Yeah. Or you could, just when you walk in, you see him, and he is a big
He's a man. He's a big man. And don't know when he'll be playing. Brad does not seem concerned about that. He, of course, is coming off a knee injury. They're going to give him plenty of time and space. But he's out there on the floor in uniform, or in warm-up uniform, and just, you know, shuffling around, doing a few things. It was really interesting to hear him talk about, and then in the background watch Trent Frazier and Io out there in a very casual shoot-around setting, but competitive. And you can see where these guys compete all the time. And he said it's amazing when it is Trent and Io and DeMonte and Andres Feliz going at it full speed, because each one of those guys wants playing time. And neither one of them wants to concede a minute of that to another guy. And boy, that's the kind of competition that you love, and that they're getting in practice right now. So that was all cool. The non-conference schedule came out today. Dates, not times and TV, but starting on November 2nd with an exhibition game against an opponent we don't know. and that Brad admitted he didn't know. But that schedule's brutal. I mean, it's really difficult, and yet he really stood up for it and says, you know, we're gonna play these kinds of people. We're going to be in Maui, and they're going to have 3 tough games there. They've got Georgetown, they've got Notre Dame, they've got difficult UNLV, they've got Missouri, they've got difficult games, and so that was kind of interesting. He was also really big on Georgie Bishanashvili, and I've heard some stories. I had 2 fans, 2 women who went over there and knew Julie Pioletti, the retiring secretary of the basketball office, went over to have lunch with Julie and got a little FaceTime with Brad, and bumped into Georgie in the hallway, and I already knew that Georgie brought the full personality deal, and he was telling them, you know, and Georgie's probably 85% BS, but that's okay, you know, I mean, that's part of personality, right? And he was already telling them, you got to come to my home country in Georgia, you know, in Russia, and you got to come see this, and now you ladies come to the games. Yes, where do you sit? And they told Georgie. He said, I'll tell you what, first game I'll make a 3 and I'll blow you a kiss. Are you serious? And he said they're getting Brad said, yeah, we're all getting a full dose of Georgie. He rides a bicycle that he doesn't really know how to ride, and he uses his flip-flops for brakes, and Georgie was out there too.
That's what I was going to say. Is he was out there in a kind of a shooting drill, casual competition setting with Io towards the end of that, and you know, that's a guard and a big. And Brad said Georgie's done a good job of keeping some of these quicker guards in front of him, which is a challenging thing to do when you're 6'9",
245.
Yeah. To keep some of those guys in front of you, that's that length, that quickness, that right spot that Brad talked about, and boy, there was some really high praise for that kid.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's going to be fun to watch him out there and see how all these guys play off of each other. I thought that the biggest message was that a change in the way things feel. Part of that year 2, part of the implication I got from it, and if I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I don't think I'm wrong, was addition by subtraction. Just that the chemistry's better with this group, and we will see. Brad is limping. He's in pain. He's had an arthroscopic knee surgery, and he told me after the thing was over that he's going to end up having to have a knee replacement, but that this will get him through. He already got back out recruiting. He's going to just tough it through until they get to the other end of the tunnel, and then you know, I think you'll see him go in and have that knee replaced and quickly start a rehab and so forth and so on. So it was really fun to talk basketball with a guy that has so much to say about his team.
What I thought was interesting, if you'll remember last year, I think it was Media Day, so substantially later in the calendar year than we're at now, he was talking about trying to expand the playbook a little bit, and that was months after where it is now, and he said they started not dumbed down, but they're a lot simpler, and then they've already started to kind of build on that, and I think you're already looking at just a few steps ahead of where they were a year ago at this time, in the second year.
I think that's right.
How many people did he have that last year, too, that really knew the system, and one of them was Tyler, his son, and now there's a handful, 5, 6, 7 guys who really feel comfortable in orchestrating where people are at and who's standing where, and kind of being those watchdogs on the court. And that allows this playbook to develop. And I don't think we saw a full dose of that last year.
No, and he's had Thomas Walk up there, who was his star player at Stephen F. Austin, and a guy he's very proud of, a guy who had no scholarship offers and who's now playing at one of the highest European League levels, making good money. And he's been there hanging out with them. And one of the reasons he's there is to talk to these players about Brad. You know, hey, trust this guy. This can happen. You can win. I lived it. I got with him to do it and get to the NCAA tournament, and talk to them about some of the things that they do scheme-wise and so forth and so on. And that's an interesting dynamic that he inserted too. So it was a lot of fun talking basketball. Of course, football training camp begins Friday. I'm going to go over with Joey for that because I want to see the quarterbacks. And then we learned today too that the Spurs released Brandon Paul, which was kind of too bad, but nice run for him. Maybe he can get back on with somebody else. Good for him that he got on a roster for the year and did a nice job and made himself some money too. So I guess that's all for now. We're all anxious to see the quarterbacks Friday.
It's all quarterback, and there's maybe kind of how some of these, not question marks, but some of these other positions line up, especially maybe not even as much the first team as the second team in some instances, and where they go. But I mean, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback until you start seeing somebody maybe break away with a few more snaps as the camp progresses. It's all there now.
If you're over there Friday at practice, it's 3 o'clock on the grass fields, about 3 blocks east of Memorial Stadium. Stop by and say hi, and it's a fun setting. I would encourage you to come over because it is a nice setting. They've got 3 fields and an opportunity to get a peek at these quarterbacks, and there's other position battles going on too. I'm interested to see the offensive line stuff and how they line up there, and this is a good battle at running back. That's a position of strength.
There's a lot of running backs.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Some of these position battles they're a lot different than they were last year in the sense that you have a lot of guys who really could start in some more programs than just one. Running back being one of them, defensive line, kind of how that shakes up being another. We'll see what the linebacker situation looks like. There's a lot of interesting pieces maybe beneath that quarterback competition.
I think so too. I haven't heard, but I assume Lovey's going to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony Saturday for Brian Urlacher. He went last year for Peanut Tillman.
So it'll be a quick turnaround.
Or excuse me, not for Peanut Tillman. He went last year for Tony Dungy. Was it Tony Dungy who went last year? I believe. Anyhow, he went last year, and I believe he'll go over for Brian Urlacher. He and Brian are pretty close, and I know he's thrilled for him that he's going to get to go in. And Peanut, in the future, at least in my opinion, ought to go in too. And Devin Hester. Of Lovey's Bears players. So, hey, thanks for riding along with us. I know this has been a bumpy ride. I've been trying to hold this thing on my wife's selfie stick. I don't have my mounted thing because I don't have my truck. So, anyhow, thanks everybody. Appreciate it a lot. I'll have something in the paper either Saturday or Sunday on the Illinois basketball. Joey will have something in tomorrow morning in Wednesday's Herald and Review. So check both of those out, and we appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.